there, Stampers. It's Linda Schmidt with Stampin' with the Hounds. Thanks for joining me today. In my Fun Fold Challenge, this was another fold that one of my members in my Stampin' with the VIP Hounds Facebook group page wanted to see. And it's called a pyramid maze, kind of a mini, like a scrapbook kind of mini book, but it's also could be used as a card. So of course my sample that I had posted in my group page, I had to give it away as a gift. So I don't have a sample to show you, but we're going to go through the steps on it. But basically it's taking a square card and then you're just building up the layers on each one. So we're going to start with, I'm doing, and you can make these as many layers as you want. So I'm going to do a 7-layer one, and this is going to be using, because the bottom layer basically is 6 by 12. So I am using one sheet of 12 by 12 sheet of paper. I did see, I do have dimensions for a smaller one that uses 8.5 by 11 that I'll share those. Let's see if I can find those. I think I do have it handy here. Yeah, this was with the 8.5 by 11. And again, I don't have a sample to show you, but you're taking, so it's 8.5 by 4.25. So whatever your square is that you want, however big you want that, you just have to kind of double it because it folds in half like a card. So then that one, again, it's going to be it's a smaller card. And I wanted, because I'm going to be adding pictures to mine, I did the larger one, but this is the one, if you want to do a smaller one that's more geared towards like a card, you can do a little screenshot of this. And again, I'll do my best to get, Friday is my goal to type up all my instructions for the last few videos. I just have not had a chance to do any of that yet, as I've been on vacation for the holidays and kind of spending time with friends and family. But anyway, so we're going to do a 7-layer one. And again, this is going to be the finished size will be a 6 by 6 square. And I'm doing this more because I'm going to be adding pictures to it and giving it to my sister. But anyway, the first layer, which is that bottom layer, will be a 6 by 12. And again, you just fold everything in half. But again, half of 12 is 6. The second layer is 5.5 by 11. And again, you're going to score that in half. The third layer is 5 by 10, scored in half. The layer number 4 is 4.5 by 9, and again, scored at 4.5. And then the fifth layer is 4 by 8, folded in half, scored at 4. And then the sixth layer is 3.5 by 7, scored at 3.5. And then the final layer, which is the top layer, is going to be 3 by 6, again, scored in half. And then whatever you want to do for layering, again, I just went in 1/4 inch. So my designer series paper mats are all of these measurements. But again, it's 1/4 inch smaller than what the square is. So we're going to start with, I'm going to show you, we're going to go through each of the layers, and then I do have some fun folds that I have thrown into the album as well. So you're going to be learning how to do some, we're going to do a little bit of a gatefold. We've got several different explosion fun folds. I've got a pinwheel, and I believe another kind of explosion one I think is in there. But so the bottom one, which is I'm calling layer number 1, basically the card needs to be 6 by 12. And again, this is early espresso. And again, since it's, 6 by 12, you can just fold it in half or score at 6. And I've already scored this one at 6. So this is going to be our base of our card, the bottom layer. And on all of these, I'm going to have it open this way, kind of like a booklet, when I'm doing all of my layouts and stuff. All right, so that is our bottom layer. Then what I like to do, so when all of these go together, you're not putting anything on the front part, because this is what you attach the next card on top of, because you're always building it up. So when you open it, this is where I'm doing my layering. So on this side, I want to do a little gatefold. And so what I did, so I have 2 pieces. I took, these are going to be 3.5 by 6, and you need 2 of them. And I just scored a 1/2 inch on one side of each of these pieces, because this is what I'm going to attach to make my gatefold. So I've already scored that 1/2 inch on the 3.5 inch side. So we'll just fold these in, and we'll add some tear and tape. And since these are going to be opening and closing, I'm folding it both ways just to kind of get that nice movement, because again, this is going to be opening like a door. So we'll do that on the other one. And then I like to use tear and tape just because it's a little bit stronger adhesive. You can also use liquid glue. So since this is going to be my door, I'm going to have it where it's like the mountain fold, and I'm going to put the tape on that 1/2 inch section. And I'll do that on both of them. So where that mountain fold is, I'm going to put my tape on the top part. And then we'll peel that backing off. And then I'm going to, because this is going to be my little door, on the outside, you're going to make sure that this 1/2 inch, where that tape is, it's going right on the edge. So I just keep it folded, and then I'm just going to line this up so that it's right on the edge. And then we'll just give it a quick burnish. And now you've got that one side of your door attached. And then the other one, where the, this card is folding in, we're going to do the same thing. You're going to take the tape off. And again, I just keep it folded like so. And I'm going to bring that down. And this is going right into the score line. You're just going to butt it right up against there, making sure you're aligned at the top and aligned at the bottom. Oh, I'm having a heck of a time today. There we go. And making sure that this can still open. And then give that a burnish. And so now we open this up, and I'm just going to give this another quick burnish because we've got these extra layers of cardstock, just to make sure this is nice and crisp. So now we've got our little gatefold as well as our card opening up. So on these panels, I like to layer these, and so you're going to need, if you want to do both the outside and the inside of those gatefold, each of these are going to be 2 3/4 by 5 3/4. And I'm using did I only cut 2? Looks like I only cut 2, so I'll have to cut some more. I'm using Weekend Adventures for my designer series paper. Oh, I thought I had cut more than that, but anyway, I will cut, when I go to decorate all this, I will cut 2 more and put them in there. But for now, these are going to go on this outside. And I'm just going to attach these with just some designer series, with some adhesive. And this you can just use tape, or you can use your glue, whatever you want to attach these pattern papers. And when I cut these, I made sure that my pattern, was continuous. So again, these are just a 1/4 inch smaller than what the doors were. Yeah, so on this project, you will use a lot of adhesive. and a lot of paper. And this is something that you would not, if you mail it, it has to go in a package because it's going to be fairly thick. It won't go through the normal postal. It would be considered a package. Okay. Then you're going to have this big section here and then this section here that you can decorate. So I did 2, and these are just our 2-tone cardstock. So one side is darker and one side is lighter. Since it's a little bit lighter paper than our cardstock, I did 2 of those, and they're 5 3/4 inch, 5 3/4 inch squares. So 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. And so that will go here. And then the other one is going to go here. And so eventually what I'm envisioning is these are where she's, you know, you're putting pictures on these mats. And I'm thinking I'll probably keep the darker side face up. And then again, I'll cut 2 more pieces to put here. Whoops. So again, this was a 6 by 6 inch square, and I just went in 1/4 of an inch smaller for my layering. And again, we'll decorate that. I'll cut some more. Yeah, so when you're thinking about doing this album, you know, at first I would figure out what your theme is going to be. Oh, and now we're at the end. And, you know, pick out your designer series paper from there, and then choose your cardstock colors. And so I'm doing, for each of my layers, I'm alternating. I chose 3 colors for my cards, and then I just alternate with each layer. Or you can do it all the same color. It's really, you know, however you want to do it, or whatever you've got for your paper supplies. I have very limited 12 by 12 cardstock, so I was just kind of picking out stuff that I knew I had 12 by 12 cardstock in, since I was doing the larger card album. Okay. And then I think I do want to quick cut that. So let's see, we did that, and I'm thinking I may just pick up, because my next layer uses the trees. Maybe I'll just do this blue on the other side. I think that's what I'll do. So I'm going to cut this really quick here so that it's done and I don't forget about it. Okay, so these layers were 2 3/4 by 5 3/4. So we'll just do, make sure I'm looking at this the other way. So if I want to use this on for, okay, I'll cut it that way. So 5 3/4 by 2 3/4, and we need 2 of them. Okay, so open this up and we'll put these in here. Yeah, and I won't be decorating the album just because by the time we get through all these layers, this video is probably going to be another long one. But my plan is to be using the, oh, no, I got to find it. Let's see. It is, I was going to do some of these. This was one of our newer scrapbooking stamps. And then my other set I was going to use was going to be the Outdoor Adventures. So these are kind of be the 2 stamp sets that I use when I go to like add the embellishments and decorating and stuff. Ugh, all my glue things are not cooperating. Let's get my other one out. All right. Okay, so again, we'll do, you know, some pictures here. She can even do pictures here or journaling. And then I'll probably do like a little decor, some kind of focal point here that, you know, will just be attached to the one side. And then we'll have some other pictures. And then this is going to close. And then that is our bottom layer of our pyramid. So that again will be that 6 by 6. So you're not going to decorate anything on here. If you wanted to, you could, but again, you're only going to see that 1/4 inch border. And then of course you'd have to adjust all your other cards, or card sizes if you're layering. So I left mine because I wanted to see the cardstock. So I'm not doing a layer on this front part. I'm only decorating the inside on each of these squares. Okay, so that was basically number 1. Then number 2 layer, this one ends up being a, oops, no, this is layer, where's my card? Oh, here's my card. I'm like, where'd it go? This one ends up being a 5.5 inch square. So again, this mat for the second card was 5.5 by 11, and we're going to score at 5.5. And I've already scored it. But again, you're just folding these in half. And this is Cajun Craze. I've got Early Espresso, Cajun Craze, and then Mossy Meadow are going to be my layers. All right, so now this is my card. This will then be, once it gets decorated, it'll be attached onto the base one. So you're always kind of building up. So just make sure when you go to attach them that it's opening up, you know, the same way for each one of them. So again, so this was 5.5 inch square. So my designer series paper, and this is the one where I'm going to do a little bit of fun folding, and we're going to do a pocket in this one as well. And I'm going to show you how to do the napkin kind of fun fold to it. So a little origami for us today. All right, so let's do our, I have to remember what my, oh yeah, this is for the origami, and this is for my pocket. Just have to make sure I'm looking at my pieces here. Because I was going to open this up. The pocket was going to go here. This was going to go here, and then I was going to have that there. Okay, so for my layer, the DSP matte layer, this one needs to be 5.25 inches. So it's just a square. So 5.25 by 5.25, and that's going to go here. And again, if you didn't want to do the pocket that I'm going to do on the left side, you can just cut 2 of these. Or you can do, you know, whatever kind of pattern, you know, layout you want to do with your papers. You can, it's like doing a card basically is all you're doing. Okay. So that's that one side. Then I'm going to show you how to do a little pocket. So for my pocket, I took a piece of cardstock that was 3 by 6.5, and then I scored a 1/2 inch on 3 of the sides. So the 2 short sides and the bottom. So that's what I've done here. So we scored a 1/2 inch here, a 1/2 inch here, rotated it, and then a 1/2 inch. We're just going to score on all of these, and then we'll trim it to make it a pocket. So just fold on all of these like a valley fold. Okay, then these will be coming in, and then this will come in, and this is what's forming our pocket. But you can see how this gets really bulky here. We need to do a little bit of trimming on these squares. So what I like to do is I'm just going to cut out these squares at the bottom. So these little 1/2 inch squares, we're just going to cut these out. up to this. You're just cutting on the score lines. So now you've got that look. So the corners were cut out. I then like to, because these are we're gonna have tape here and tape here. I like to make this a little bit of a tab so that it's not as bulky. So I'm just going to make a little notch. I'm just going to come in and kind of cut like a little triangle, like so. And do that on just the bottom one. Okay, so then that will come in. So we're going to put tape here and tape there. And then this then gets attached onto your card to make that pocket. So I just want, we're going to put a little bit of glue right here at the bottom because I just want this tab to be attached. I might have to use tear and tape. I don't know if that's gonna, we'll hold it here a little bit longer. Otherwise I might just do the tear and tape. I'll hold that. Is that holding? So I'm just putting a little bit of glue here just to hold. Oops, I put it on the wrong side. Putting it right there just to hold these little corners down. So just give it a hold for a minute. Okay, so now you should have, yeah, this is gonna, so use tear and tape. The glue is just gonna take too long to hold that. Okay, so now you've got everything kind of put together. And then this, you'll put tear and tape on all of these outside here on the left and the right, and then along the bottom. And then that is what makes your pocket. But before I do that, I do want to do a little circle punch. And oh my gosh, I thought I had it still sitting out. Okay, let me go grab that really quick. I just grabbed one. So it can be any size. I just grabbed what was closest here. So I'm just going to take, this is a 3/4 inch circle. And I'm just basically making a little half circle punch. I'm just kind of looking about halfway. And this is optional. It just makes it a little bit easier for the pocket. As a little notch on it. But before I do that, I know I did this last time too. I forgot. I was going to add this as a layer. I wonder if I should do the black for a little contrast. Yeah, maybe I will. So I want to do that again because I want my half circle to align on my designer series paper. I meant to attach this earlier. So when you go to punch that, make sure this is glued down. And this little piece, this is totally optional. I just brought it in. This was 1.5 by 5.5 inches. And again, it's just kind of going right on the top here just for a contrast so that you can see where the pocket is. Okay, so then we're going to put tear and tape on all of these. So on 3 sides, the 2 outside and the bottom. And then you'll just remove the backing. And again, if you wanted to put the same pattern paper, you know, over here, you certainly can do that. I just left it as cardstock because then I'm going to have my little pull out. Like I made some tags that she can either do journaling on or add pictures on the tags. It doesn't, you know, totally optional. So now our pocket, we're just going to attach that so it's right on flush with the bottom and flush with the side, and it's not impeding our fold at all. And then we'll give that a good burnish to make sure it's attached. And now you have a little pocket. Fun. And so I already cut some die cut tags. These are from a retired set. I think it was like Marius Trees or something. And then I already put my little ribbon on there. And so again, these are just going to go right in that little pocket. And then for my explosion piece here, I'm going to show you how to do this fun little origami fun fold. So what you need is a 6 by 6 inch piece of paper, and we're going to score at 1.5 on all 4 sides to begin with. So I'll kind of, oh, I do have a little template here that you can kind of look at so you can see what this actually looks like for the lines. I can kind of explain it as I go here. So what we're doing, again, this is a 6 by 6 inch square. Get into camera here. And we go at 1.5 all the way around. So that's what, you're just kind of making that little like tic-tac-toe. So that's 1.5 inches all the way around. And then what you do is you make a little tick mark at 3 inches. And again, I did that all the way around. I just made a little tick mark for 3. Because then what you're going to do is I scored then from that 3 inch tick mark to the other 3 inch tick mark to get that diagonal fold. So these all have come in, and then you're going to bring in each of these. And again, you can do this without scoring. You can just bring all of these into the center, but I found that it was easier to have it scored, you know, so that you knew you're bringing all your corners into the center. And then from here, you then flip it over, and then you do the same thing. You bring each of these, and see how there's a little bit of a gap. You bring each of these then into the center, and then you unfold everything. And this is just to get all the score lines on it. So then you've got all of that. And then when you go to make it into this shape, what you want to do is when you look at your piece of paper, you've got this square here and these diagonal lines. It's these diagonal lines that you want to basically pinch to bring in so that this is coming in and you get like this little square, and then this piece folds back. And that's where you're getting what they call the napkin kind of fold. So you would do that on each of the sides. So you find where the square is, and then you just basically pinch these diagonal ones in, and then it'll naturally kind of want to fold in, and you'll get a square, and then that folds back. And you do that on each side. So we'll go over that in it, but at least this way you kind of see kind of the layout of how we're scoring it. So again, we're going to score. I'm just taking one. It was a little bit easier paper, I thought, to show. So we're going to do 1.5 inches all the way around. So we're going to score at 1.5, and then we're going to rotate it, and we're going to score at 1.5, and rotate, 1.5, and rotate, and 1.5. Now, like I said, you've kind of got that, it's probably better, tic-tac-toe. So you got 2 and that. So then we're going to make a mark at 3, and you can either use a pencil or you can just use, I'm going to do the pencil just for the video. It'll be a little bit easier to see. So I'm going to make a mark at 3, and I'm just going to do this on each of my sides. And now we want to make that diagonal. So we're going to take where that tick mark is and where the other one is, and we're going to line it up. And on my scoring tool, I used a Sharpie as my horizontal line, so that, or straight line, so that I know I'm scoring in a straight line. So I'm going to line up my tick mark to my other tick mark. And then I'm going, oops, let's see here, make sure. And then we're just going to score that. And you should be intercepting that little plus sign on it. And you do the same thing. So tick mark to the tick mark. Because we're making that, basically that diamond shape that's in the center of this fold. And then tick mark to tick mark again. Oops. And the last one, tick mark to tick mark. And if you didn't want to do these fun folds in your pyramid card, you don't have to. And then I'm just going to erase my pencil lines. Okay, I'll set this aside for now. All right, so what you want to do is we're going to bring in, so this is the side that I want up, basically, okay? So I'm going to fold on all of my straight lines first. So we're just going to bring these in like a valley fold. On all four sides. Okay. And then this is where, you know, you would be bringing these into the center. And that's why I scored it, because it's like, I just found it was easier to have it scored diagonally, so that I'm not guessing where that center is or how far in I should be going. So we're just going to fold these again. These are all going to be the valley folds. So you've got like a little square envelope right now. Okay. Now, again, you can, flip it over and then do it again, but I'm just going to, since the score lines are here, it's a little bit easier, I'm going to then bring these in again to the center. So each corner I'm bringing in again. So I'm reducing the size of my square. It's getting smaller. And then we'll unfold it, and then we'll make it into that little napkin fold. We'll squeeze it into shape. Make sure you're right up there. So you really want to make sure all of your folds are nice, so you're getting all of that in. Okay, so now we're going to unfold it, and again, this is the back side. So now when it opens up, this is the side I want. So I'm going to find where that square was. Here are the diagonals that I am going to pinch these in. So I'm doing where these are right here, those diagonals, it's like a mountain fold. So just make sure you're have your middle finger kind of underneath that diagonal fold, so that when you go to pinch this in, this is coming in now, and then you'll press that down. And then you're going to take this corner and fold it back so that it's right up against, just basically folded in half diagonally. So now you've got that little napkin fold on that corner. And then we're going to do the same thing on all the other 3 sides. So there's your square. Here's your diagonal line. So have your fingers underneath it, pinch it to bring it in, and it's going to naturally want to come in, flatten it, and then take that corner and fold it back. All right, so now you got 2. We'll do the same thing, kind of unfold everything. There's that diagonal. So I'm going to pinch it and bring it in. And then we'll flatten it. And then bring this back, fold it in half, diagonally. All right, and then the last corner, same thing. Here's our square. Here's that diagonal line. We're going to put our fingers underneath it, give it a pinch in so that it's forming to come in, and then we're going to flatten it. And this is where you may need to kind of sometimes force it into shape where you want it. And then take this and fold it back. And now you have your napkin fold. Good, I love it. Winka, winka, winka. And then what I did on my other one, I took some little, they were probably this size, 3/4 inch circles, and then I just put one on each corner with like a dimensional, so that it just gave it a little more stability. Like when you go to pull it, you have something to kind of grip on there. And so now here, you end up getting in the middle piece, this ends up being a 3-inch square. So again, you could put a 3-inch picture in there, or you could go a little bit smaller. You could put a greeting, you could put you know, die cuts, whatever you want. That's kind of what this little piece is in the album for it. So again, I had originally done this one that I was going to use in mine, and I'm thinking I do kind of like this one too. And you can either put it in, you know, straight, or you can do it more at a diagonal or like a diamond shape. But based on like my pattern of my paper, I'm going to keep mine more as a square on it. So when they open it up, the pattern's going the right way. So I think I'm going to stick with this original one that I had done on it. So now to attach this, you're going to flip it over, and you're just putting glue on that 3-inch square section. And then if you wanted to mat this, you know, you could, but I'm just gonna layer this. I'm just gonna put this right in the center. Looks pretty good. And then we'll just make sure that's held down. Fun. All right, so then that'll close shut. And then I'm just going to make sure I'm still aligned. Come in just a little bit here and force it. My pocket extended out a little bit. There we go. All right, so that layer now can be attached to our bottom layer. So again, this was how it opens up. Our card's opening up this way. We're going to put glue all over the back of this one. And that is what is attached as we build up our pyramid. And I would, again, I would be using a liquid glue versus adhesive or your tape when you go to attach the card layers, just because it'll be held in place better. So we'll just give that a good press, make sure it's nice and adhered. All right, that's 2 layers out of the 7. All right, next layer. So get this out of the way. Okay, so layer number 3. This one is a 5 by 10 inch piece of cardstock. And we've got another fun fold I'm going to show you. So again, this was 5 by 10, and then we're going to score it at 5 inches, so just fold it in half. And this one is Mossy Meadow, so the 3 colors I have are the Early Espresso, the Cajun Craze, and the Mossy Meadow, and then I'm just alternating these colors as I go through my, my layers. All right, so now we've got that one. So on this, I have, for my mat, so I'm going to open it up. My mat for my Designer Series paper is a 4 3/4 inch square, so 4 3/4 by 4 3/4, and you can do 2, you know, if you want to do 1 here and 1 here. I was just going to do the 1 layer and then do this little fun fold over here, and then I'll probably just end up doing some die cuts or I don't know, something I'll put there just to fill it in. And then to make this little fun fold, this one you will need a sheet of Designer Series paper that is 4 by 4, and we're basically just folding in the corners and then folding back these little each section again to make that little, so it's kind of like, I don't know, a napkin, kind of a star fold, I don't know. I don't know what to call this one, but anyway, we are going to take on this, we'll attach our Designer Series paper. So again, this was that 4 3/4 inch square, and I'm going to put that on the left side of the card. Just as a mat, so I've just got that 1/4 inch mat going around each side. Okay, so then for this little piece, again, it's a 4 inch square, and you're just going to bring in, so this is the side I want to see, that I want to see. So you're basically just bringing in each of these corners. And see, this is where sometimes I feel like I do like to score it. Yeah, let me look here. What did I score this at? I wound up doing, I think I just did it as in half to find the, yeah, I made a mark at 2. I think that's what I'm going to do. Just because it's easier. I like a nice crisp fold. So this is a 4 inch square. I'm going to make a mark at 2 inches. Whoops. 2 inches on each side. And like we did on the napkin fold, we're going to score diagonally from tick mark to tick mark so that I'm getting a good crisp diagonal line, and then I know where my center is. I believe that's what I did on this. Yes, I just like to double check my work, because I just made this up. Like I said, I've only made one other one, and it was, I had to give it away as a Christmas gift, because they do take some time obviously, from this video. I mean, part of it is like picking out your papers and, you know, what your design is going to be, but then the other part is just assembling it and then, of course, decorating it. And you know me with my decorating. I love to decorate, and that's what takes me the longest, because I try and figure out, like, oh, what am I going to add? And stuff, so. All right, so tick mark to tick mark. All right, and then let's erase those. I don't know where my eraser went. Erase our tick marks. Okay. All right, now let's bring these in. Yeah, see, then you're just getting that nicer, basically airplane fold, that point. So having those score lines makes it a little bit easier. So you're just bringing in each corner to the center. So again, making like a little envelope and bringing this in. So it's the same concept as the napkin fold, but we're just not doing as many layers. Now, you can just fold, like have it go right up, you know, to there, but I wanted it to be a little bit bigger area here. So I then basically brought these, what is that, like a 1/4 of an inch? What did I do here? That was, that's about 5/8, I think is what it looks like. It's like what I did. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up again, just so that I get that nice straight line. I'm just going to line this up so that it's on my, you know, it's on the score line. And then I'm just going to go over. So here's one little, you know, that's like a 1/8 of an inch. I think what I want to do is we're going to go 1, 2, 3. So we're going to do this third one. So that when this comes in, I now have that versus just a shorter, I wanted more of my flap showing. So we'll do that on each one of these. So I'm just making sure my score line is in that set where my mark is, and then I'm just going over a little bit. And we'll do the same thing. And again, this is optional. If you want to just eyeball it, you can, but I just like to be a little bit more exact on it. There we go. You kind of got that little star look, I guess. And then this is the one where I would keep it when I go to attach it. I'm going to keep it more at a diamond shape because that's the way my pattern paper is going. So again, you can, if you wanted to, you could, you know, tape these down, but I'm still going to have this be open so that if they put a picture in here, you've got a little bit more real estate for that photo. So again, this square for your maximum size for your picture would be about 3 3/4, or I'm sorry, 2 3/4 inch size picture for that. So I'm going to put glue then just on the back of this square, and then I'll position it so that it's more of a diamond shape look on the inside of the card here. And I'll just put it right in the center. can save this one for another one. All right, so that's layer 3. So now this, we'll close it up, flip it over, put glue on the back. And attach that onto the Cajun Craze. So now you've got 3 layers of our pyramid attached. So see, as you're building it, you're starting to build up, you know, some bulk. And then I still would have to do my pictures and my decor. So it ends up being, this is why you're not going to really put it in the mail. It would be in a package because it's going to be too bulky. All right, so now we'll go on to the next layer. And this one, so this is the 4th layer. So this base of the card base, I should say, is going to be 4 1/4 by 9, and we scored it in half at 4 1/2. So 4 1/2 by 9 is what this square is, or this card. And then I'm going back to the early espresso, which was my bottom layer. So I'm just alternating my colors of my cardstock. And then our mat, so this one we're going to open it up. Our mat layer is 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. And I'm just going to put that on, let's see here, because I'm doing what's called a pinwheel. Oh, actually I was going to put it over here because I think I was going to have this be my decor item. Yeah, so we'll put the mat over here. So again, this was that 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. And again, if you wanted to do 2 of these, you know, a mat on each side, you can definitely do that. But all right, and then I'm going to show you how to make this. It's called a pinwheel, and this you could use on like a card front with it. So it's actually it's fairly simple. So what you need is 2 pieces of cardstock that are both cut to be 2 5/8 by 2 5/8. So you need 2 of those. And then you're going to need 8 squares that are 1 1/4 by 1 1/4. So 8 designer series paper pieces. So I took crumb cake as my cardstock base. So these are both 2 5/8 by 2 5/8. One is going to stay as a square. Get this out of the way here. And then the other one, you rotate it so that it is like a diamond. And then you just want to make sure you are, let me matched up on my grid lines here. You're going to attach these 2 together. So you only want to put kind of glue in the center. And then this one will be going in as a diamond. So I just try and make sure I'm centered. So point. Gotta make sure I'm looking at the right grid line here. That one to that one. Whoops. Okay, that looks pretty good, so we'll just glue that down. Okay, then, like I said, you need 8 of your 1 1/4 inch by 1 1/4 inch designer series paper. So mine are all the same paper. I'm going to alternate between having the green and then kind of like these little tree branches. So I'm just alternating between each one. So your first one, let's see, I think I'm going to start, no, I'm think I'm going to start this way. I'm just trying to think with my pattern because this branch, that's the only thing I'm looking at here. Yeah. All right. So on this one, you want to, you can either do, like I said, you can do the tape. I'm actually going to do the liquid glue because I've got a little bit more wiggle room with it. So you're going to put glue on, but don't press it down really hard because what we're doing is we have to tuck the other one underneath it. And I just found it was easier if you just gently laid it down. So on what I'm doing is I'm using this top layer as my guide, and I want to have a little bit of a border going around. So I'm not going to press down here because what I'm going to do is then this next one is going to go in this way, and then you're using this bottom layer as your guide for your 1/4 inch border. So I'm going to put glue again, and then I'm just going to wedge this underneath. And then press that down, and then I can go ahead and press that one down. Then I'm going to rotate this just because it makes it a little bit easier for me. I'm going to do the next tree branch thing. Let's see, let's go back here because if I'm starting, so I make sure my branches are all going. So again, I need to wedge this underneath. Yep, I do want to go this way. So my pattern's all the same here. So now I'm using this as my guide. So this piece, because I'm looking at my pattern, is going to go right underneath. And I want to have a little bit of a border showing. And then I can press this green layer down. I may need to add a little bit more glue. But don't press this one down yet. The one that you just put down. Kind of keep that one up a little bit. Okay. And then we'll add this one, the green. So again, now we're just going to kind of rotate this. We're going to tuck it. I'm going to line up. So I'm using this bottom square corner as my guide. And then I can press that Cajun Craze paper down. Add a little bit of glue if it's not sticking. And then I'm not pressing this one down yet because I need to tuck the other one underneath it. Now because I've got a pattern on this rust color, I'm just making sure that when I'm attaching this one as my guide, that my pattern is going the same way, you know, so that I'm not flipping it around. So we'll attach, put glue on the back of this one. And if your paper doesn't have a directional pattern, then you don't have to do it. So now I'm going to use this top layer, the top square, as my guide. And then I can press the green one down, add a little bit more glue. And then we're going to do a green. So again, now I'm going to use this bottom square as my guide. Lift this up, wedge this underneath. Using that bottom square, whoops, corner here as my guide. And then I can take this Cajun Craze paper, put a little bit more glue, and press it down. And now we've got that pattern again, so I just want to make sure that when I'm putting this in, that it's going, my branches are going the same way. And again, now I'm using the top square as my guide to wedge this in. And I've just got that little border on the top and the right hand side. And then we can go ahead, put more glue, fold that one down, hold it in place. Pop this one up a little bit so it's not. And then our final one was the green. Oh, Miss Ezra, she's chirping upstairs. Oh yeah, 3:30. It's time for her to, she wants her supper. Our 13 or 14-year-old Greyhound. She's definitely the early bird special. All right, and then I'm using that bottom layer square as my guide. And now I can press all this down because this is my last layer. And then glue this one down so that it's not propping around. And now you have a fun little pinwheel. So just another kind of, like, again, you can use this as a card layout too, because you got those two squares that you used as your guides as you kind of worked the designer series paper around. So fun. All right, so then this again, you know, you could put like a little picture here if you wanted to, but I'll probably just put like a little die cut or something on there is what my plan is. So then you can go ahead and put glue on the back of all of these squares and attach that. And again, I've kind of got some direction on my paper here, so I want to make sure I'm going to go this way. So my feet are going down and this I'm just going to put in the center. All right, and then that finishes that card. And so this then gets attached onto our pyramids. We're going to flip it over and put glue on the back of this. Sure that's all adhered together. So now our pyramid is starting to come into shape. Okay, so now layer number 5 is 4x8, and I'm using Cajun Craze. And again, we just fold that in half, so score it at 4. And on this one, I was going to do, this is layer, I have this written down wrong here. This one, let's see here, would be 3 3/4 inch for the designer series paper if you wanted to do just designer series paper and not my little explosion card on the inside. But I am just going to be doing an explosion card. And what that means is when this opens up, the whole thing is just going to explode up. So to do the explosion, your designer series paper needs to be on this size. So basically, normally when we do this fold for cards, it's a 6x6 sheet of paper. But the 6x6 on this one was just a little bit too big because it was poking out from the inside of the card. So I trimmed my designer series paper down to be 5.5 by 5.5. And then you're going to, again, you can just do this without scoring, but I like to have a little bit crisper lines, and so I am looking for my, how do I lose stuff on my desk so easily? Where did my, oh, sorry, here. Oh boy. All right, so my 5.5 inch, we're basically going to score right in half. Oh my gosh, what is going on here? What am I caught on? So 5.5, so it winds up being 2. I'll check here. Let me just make sure I'm hitting this. So 2, 2.5, 2 3/4. All right, so we're going to do 2 3/4. We're just going to basically make a plus sign. Okay, so we got that 1 and 2, and then we are going to score from one corner to the next corner, and you only do that once. We're just going to score this diagonally in half. So I just line up my points on my Simply Scored tool on that red horizontal line that I've got on my score tool here, just so I know where my points are so that I can score diagonally a straight line. All right. Okay. And then you're going to, so this is the side I want face up. So we're going to bring in the straight lines as valley folds. Oh, we hear you, Miss Ezera. Okay. Then where that diagonal line was, I'm going to flip it over and do like a mountain fold. Then where those diagonal lines were, the mountain folds, we're going to pinch in and bring these in to close it so that you're getting a little square. And then this is what gets attached to the inside of the card so that when we open it up, we get that explosion. Fun! But now that I see this, I think I do want to add, I want to add some paper here just to jazz it up a little bit. So let me look here. I think I want to add, let's see here. I just want to, the squares, the trees. I think I may do that blue. Again, because I do like this midnight. So we need, for our mat, it was going to be 3 3/4 inches. So I'm just going to cut 2 squares here really quick. Just because I think that'll, yeah, it just gives it a little more color. So we'll do another one. So 3 3/4 inch. Okay, so let's attach these. Or do I guess we do 1 and 1. Yeah, we'll just do both blue. I think I like the blue. All right, so totally optional. And again, you don't have to do the explosion. You could just do these DSP mats and then add your pictures or your sayings, or die cuts, whatever you want. Okay, so now for the explosion, fold it back in so you've got that little square. You want to have it so it's opening, because our card is opening this way, we want our explosion to open that same way. So you're going to keep this at a diamond shape basically. And I'm making sure that my point here is like right in that score line so that this can still open. And then we're going to put glue all along the back of this square. And then we're going to close the card. Give it a good burnish. We want to make sure that that's attached then to the inside of the card. All right, so now one side is attached. We're going to do the same thing, keeping it closed. We're going to put glue all along the back, and then we'll close it shut to attach it. And same thing, give it a good burnish to make sure that it's nice and attached. And now you have your explosion. Fun! So this ends up being for your workspace, for a picture, about if you wanted to crop it, I would say 2 5/8 or 2.5 inch square would be the size for those on there. All right, so then again, this is opening that way. We're going to bring back our pyramid, and we're going to put glue on the back and attach this onto our pyramid. And again, if you wanted to adjust these measurements so they were a little bit bigger, you know, if you didn't want, you know, basically that 1/4 inch border, you could definitely adjust them to however you want. Or if you wanted to add designer series paper on here. But again, I wanted to see more of that cardstock layering. All right, so there we go. We've only got 2 more layers. Okay. Oh, and this was, I'm sorry, I did have this little square. This was if you wanted to, your pictures. See, again, this one was about 2 5/8, was it? I think. Yeah, that's 2 5/8. So that's really covering up that pattern paper. So I would probably do a 2.5 inch photo on these pieces here when I go to crop my pictures. Okay, and then layer number 6 is going to be a 3.5 inch by 7 inch for your cardstock base. Again, scored in half, which would be at 3.5. And then your designer series mat would be 3.25 by 3.25, which is what this one is. So our card, we're just going to fold this in half. And on this one, I'm doing another type of explosion card. I think I may have a little animal showing this time. Yeah, I think I'll do my little animals. Something different. We'll change it up. Yeah, and this paper, this actually, I thought it was still in the last chance or the scrapbooking, but I think it is sold out. It was, I think, the autumn, what was it called? Fall, autumn. Oh, Sweet Days of Autumn. Yeah, so that one is sold out. But I'm trying to use up what I have. The other paper is current. That one is still in our scrapbooking. There's a scrapbooking kit, and you can also just buy the paper by itself. Okay, so for this explosion one, if you saw my explosion boxes that I did last year, it's kind of that same concept, but it's not a box. But we're going to use that same idea. So for this, what I needed for the explosion part, a designer series paper, it needs to be 9 by 9, and we're going to score at 3 inches and 6 inches, rotate it and score at 3 and 6, so that you're getting basically 9 squares on it. And then we'll cut out the outside corners to make a plus sign, and then that's what we're going to use in the book. So we're going to score this piece of 9 by 9 inch paper at 3 inches and 6 inches. Oops. So there's 3, 6. We're going to rotate, and we're going to do the same thing. 3 and 6. And then we just need to cut out these outside squares. And I like to use my paper trimmer versus scissors, just so that I know I'm cutting a straight line. So we're basically cutting out, I don't know if you can, let me, camera pick this up, okay. We're taking out these outside squares so that we're left with a plus sign with our paper. So if you just move, again, if we just move your paper over to the 6-inch mark, that way you know you're cutting on that 3-inch score line. And you're just going to cut down 3 inches. So on my ruler, on my paper trimmer, I'm going to stop at that 3-inch mark. And then I'm just going to lift up my paper trimmer, and then I'm going to cut up from the bottom up to the 6-inch mark. Now we've got a cut and a cut. I'm just going to rotate this and do the same thing on the other corner. So making sure my paper is over at the 6, my score line is in that cutting where I'm going to cut at 3 inches, and I'm going to cut down to 3 inches, lift it up, and then cut up to the score line, which is going to be 6 on my ruler. We're going to rotate, so we've lost a square, and we're going to do the same thing. So now we're going to keep it right at that 3-inch, because we're going to cut down. Oh my gosh, I got glue all over my hands. Cut down to 3, and then that cuts out that square. And the last one, again, making sure your score line is in that 3-inch, and we're going to cut down to 3 inches, rotate, making sure this is at the 3, and then we cut down to where our other 3-inch, that score line was. Now we've lost that square, and then we make one final rotation. Again, making sure you're at the 3 score line. We're going to cut down to 3 to cut out this final square. So now this is, you should have your little plus sign. Now all of these little squares that we cut off, I'm actually going to trim these down. I think I can just do 2 at a time here. I'm going to trim these down about, oh, 1/4 of an inch, I'm thinking. Yeah, we'll do 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to cut off on one side, and I'm cutting 2 at a time here. And then I'm going to rotate and cut off 1/4 of an inch. So that leaves us then with a 2 3/4 inch square. So if you want to use these as mats, you can. So I'll do the same thing on these other 2. So we're just going to trim them down to a 2 3/4 inch square. And then rotate and do the same thing. Making sure, since I'm cutting 2, that I'm perfectly lined up. Okay. All right. So now to make what I call the explosion box, these all come in. Oops. As valley folds. Or if you want, you know, depending on what you want to see on the inside. Is how, you know, you determine which way you're folding. I want to see the branches, so that's going to be why I'm doing all the valley folds. Okay, so now when this goes together, let's see, how do I normally do this? I think I do up, over, over, and down. And then that's how that would be layered in there. So when you open it, you can put something here, you can put something here, you can put something here, and this is where, you know, if you wanted to, you know, alternate, you know, and just add another, either a cardstock, like a mat, or you can use your extra pieces here. You can add those, and those are, like I said, these are going to be those 2 3/4 inch. You can do something here, something here, something here, something here, and then of course something in the center, which maybe that's what the square was for. Oh, that's a little bit, I don't know what I didn't cut there. It looks like I didn't cut anything for it, but I think I will. I'm going to do a 2 3/4 inch, just some two-tone cardstock. I just did the crumb cake, just to put. I'm just going to put that in the center here, and then I'll wait and decorate my panels. I think I may do 2 at least. Yeah, I think I'll do it that way. So I'll use these. I'll do one here and one here, top and bottom. And again, I've still got plenty of room to do like a picture or die cuts, whatever I end up putting on here. And then that comes in, this comes in. So we could then do, let's see, because I've got that there, that comes in, this, and that. I decide, maybe I will put these, I'll put these here then. Might as well use them up, they're cut. Got that little layer. And then the same thing on the other side. Oops, we want the, yeah. Make sure I'm putting the glue on the right side here. There you go. So using the Designer Series paper or the two-tone cardstock for this piece, I would recommend versus cardstock, because like I said, by the time you go to put this together, you've got some bulk, plus it's going into the card and closing and then going on top of everything. So once everything is like folded up into the little square, and again, I like to have the top part go up first, then the left, then the right, and then the bottom, but I mean, you can definitely fold it up however you want. On that. So I'm going to flip this over and add more glue, and then attach this to the inside of my card, kind of centering it. Oops. Give it a good burnish. Yeah, so this is probably the thickest layer with this little fun fold. Isn't that cute? I love it. Close her down, flip it over, add glue, and let's see, yeah, the next one, we do want to make sure we add our ribbon before we attach the final layer. All right, so now we'll bring in our pyramid. Layer this, centered. All right, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me add a little bit more glue on there. Yeah, you really want to make sure you use a little bit more glue than what you probably normally would, just because you've got quite a bit of bulk on these layers. Okay. All right, and then the final layer is layer number 7. So this is a 3x6 sheet of cardstock scored in half at 3 inches. And I did add one little element to this one. I added another, I wanted to fold out like a trifold. And so I made this. So again, this is a 3-inch square, basically when it's folded in half. Dun, dun, dun. But I wanted to add another little flap, so it'll open basically like a trifold. So again, I could have cut this, it could have been just one sheet of paper, but I thought of this after the fact. So for my flap, it's 3.5 inches by 3 inches. And on the 3.5 inch side, you're just going to score at a 1/2 inch to make this little flap. And then you'll add tear and tape. So we got that little valley fold. So we're going to put our tear and tape there. Peel this off. And then this is going to be attached on the back so that I'm getting a continuous those squares. So it doesn't look like I have 2 pieces of cardstock glued together. So then this comes in. So really you could have taken a, what was this, a 3x9. So this really could have been 3x9. Of course this marker doesn't want to work. This could have been 3x9 and then scored at 3 and 6 inches to make a trifold. Would be the other way of doing it. So our pattern layers are going to be 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. And let's see here. So I did a variety of, so this is actually cardstock, crumb cake. I was going to have this be on my front. And then I believe I was going to do like that, that. And then this closes, so you have another layer. And I was going to do that one there, I think. That was my game plan. That's what we're going with. All right. So I had 5 pieces of designer series paper, and they're all different patterns. But you can certainly, if you wanted to have them be the same, you could. The center one, I take that back. There was 4 designer series paper, and then I did crumb cake cardstock for my center. Crumb cake. And then we'll do, let's see here, which one is the better. I think I'll do that one on the outside. do that one on the outside. And then this one can be the misty moonlight background. All right, so then this will fold in, and this will fold in. Now, since this is the very last layer, I am going to put Designer Series paper on my front. But before I attach this to my pyramid, I want to run my ribbon underneath it. And the ribbon is just what kind of holds everything together. All right. So before I attach this onto here, I'm going to take some ribbon, and I'm just using up some retired early espresso ribbon that I had in my stash. And I'm basically, it needs to run, so I'm kind of keeping it on the spool here. I'm just tucking it under all of these layers here so I can see how much I need to do a bow, because you'll kind of keep untying and tying this, so I'm going to keep it a little bit longer than what I normally probably would do, just to have a little bit bigger bow. All right, so then we'll trim that, and then just so that the ribbon isn't flopping around, I'm going to take some thin tear and tape. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm trying to get the, I've got too much adhesive on my fingers right now. There we go. So I'm just going to make a little tick mark so that I know where my halfway point is, so that I'm putting my ribbon on straight. So I'm just going to put a little bit of tear and tape, and again, you could do glue, but this is just a really narrow tear and tape that I found off of Amazon. So we're just going to put a little bit of this on the back of the book just to hold the ribbon in place a little bit better. Where's my halfway? Again, I'm just, before I was trying to get my right spot on my ribbon here. There we go. All right, so we've got our ribbon, and so then this then will be held in place a little bit better. And then I will, just to hold this ribbon down a little bit better, I'm going to put tear and tape on this top layer of my number 6. And then I'll put the ribbon down. And then our final layer, we're going to flip it over. We're going to put glue all over the back of this. And then that gets attached onto the top. This is our top of our pyramid. Closed. And then again, just kind of give this a good press, because that's a lot of cardstock, a lot of layers. And this is the thickest one too, because I want to make sure that it's really attached onto that pyramid. All right. So that is the pyramid. And then again, you can just take your ribbon and you can tie your bow. Da, da, da. And then again, I'll put a little decor, I'll die cut or something on there. So that is then your pyramid card. And again, you could, no, because the way this is opening, yeah. Again, this top one is going to kind of pop up a little bit. Now, if you didn't want, because I always wanted my ribbon to be part of the card, that's why I attached it underneath that top layer. You don't have to do it that way. You could wrap it all the way across, and then it would just be loose. You know, then you wouldn't have the ribbon attached at all. It would be the other way of doing it. So again, there is the pyramid card. Super fun, or they kind of call it like a maze card because you're, you know, going through and doing all these different kind of fun folds throughout each of the layers. Closing it, and there was our explosion. And then we had our little pinwheel. We had our little starburst. I don't know what to call that. What to call that fun fold. And we had our little pocket card. And then our envelope, little origami explosion in there. And then our gatefold. That's at the very back on that bottom layer. So super fun. Now the fun part, I get to spend time decorating this. So I will make sure I post pictures of the completed album, and I'll get the pictures and stuff in here too, because I think I've got some pictures that'll work, and then I can give this to my sister as a gift. And then one of these days make one for myself. All right, so that is the Tower fold card, or like little mini album, using your scrapbooking papers and your cardstocks. So thanks again. I apologize. I know it's a little bit longer video, but there was a lot of layers. So I will, again, I'm going to be working on Friday, typing up all my instructions, layers, all the dimensions and stuff for this album, and then some of my other fun folds that I've done recently, because I know I'm behind on doing all that for everyone. But anyway, if you have not yet joined my Facebook group, Stampin' with the VIP Hounds, make sure you do that. And also make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. I will be working on some other fun fold challenges that people have given me. One of them is going to be the tuxedo card. So I have I made one. I made my Valentine's Day card. That'll be my next fun fold in my fun fold series that I'll be working on. So make sure you subscribe so you learn how to create that fun card. And as always, Ezra and I wish you a happy new year. And thanks again for watching and subscribing and liking and commenting. I completely appreciate it. So thanks again, and have a great and creative day. Bye-bye.